My best friend Matt, who I've known since high school, told me about a local music festival in a neighboring state. Very DIY. Lots of college hippies getting drunk and smoking weed while camping out in the woods for an entire weekend. I leapt at this chance in a heartbeat. Near the beginning of August, we drove there in my old SUV excited for a fun-filled weekend of partying. Our summer jobs were boring, even sometimes stressful, so we were happy for any opportunity to escape. There were 2 days of live music from local bands, with each day being held at 2 different venues. The first day was fairly tame, offering fun, danceable music, which happened to go well with Fireball and Blood Orange San Pellegrino. Spicy orange is what Matt called it. I hated it, but it got us through the night. We pitched up a tent directly at the venue, which happened to be just some guy's backyard. We woke up the next day slightly hungover, then packed up our stuff and drove to the next venue. Once we arrived, we felt a little useless since they were still setting up. We decided to help as much as we could, but they ended up not needing us, so we just went to set up our little campsite in the woods nearby. After putting up our tent and changing into festival attire, it was about midday. Music was starting to play in the air, and people were beginning to arrive and mill about everywhere. It was about now that the world around us started to feel weird, but only for the two of us. This fun-filled weekend, this trip of ours, was only just now starting. The first band wasn't really our mood, this frantic, uncomfortable, experimental electronic music that made these warbly noises, as Matt later called it. So instead of sitting around in the summer heat listening to unpleasant music, we opted to take a dip in the nearby pool. This seemed to stir something inside us. The water felt as if it had ethereal properties, like the water complemented the music we were listening to. This didn't make sense. We didn't like the warbly noises. But when we were sitting with our heads above the water like a scope of a submarine, listening to these odd, uncomfortable, warbly noises, we felt as if we were spying on whoever was making them, silently judging and wishing for them to stop. We felt consumed, like we were in a movie, but only watching it be played out. There were many times where we were wrapped in our thoughts, in an unbreakable trance that can only be interrupted by a lack of stimuli. When Warbly Noise Guy's set ended, this was suddenly our ticket to reality. We hopped out of the pool, then walked to our tent to dry off and have a snack. Our favorite snack has always been oranges, the act of ripping apart the skin to get to the juicy fruit, then eating it, splitting a slice, feeling each individual strand of juice-filled sugar between your fingers, only to have it get all over your hands. The whole process felt primal in a way, like we were really alive, and the day only continued to feel weirder from here. After our experience with the oranges, coincidentally, another band's set was starting, so we made our way back over to the stage. There was just a continuous stream of stimuli. For some reason, it seemed to be playing in our favor. So we sat there on the hill overlooking the stage, watching these angsty, nervous high schoolers attempt to play angsty, nervous rock music. It didn't surprise us when they said this was our first time playing live together. Overall, we didn't like it, but we were willing to be respectful and at least give them a chance. As for the scene around us, it was now much different from before. People started showing up in droves, with the second day of the festival now officially underway. By now it was about mid-afternoon. College kids were already laying around stoned, drunk, or both. Little kids were running around and playing, screaming. Middle-aged adults milling about, making small talk or watching their kids. It was an odd scene for a music festival. This is what happens when it's in someone's backyard. This is also where it all fell apart. I looked over at Matt and saw that he was clearly not enjoying himself. He was seeing people he goes to college with, juxtaposed with screaming kids and adults out of their normal habitats, let loose for the world to see. People jumping in the pool behind us, small talk all around us, and of course, the angsty high school band, playing their uncomfortable music. All the human noises, the influx of words and sounds, was taking him to a place he didn't want to go, a stressful, anxiety-ridden place that we came here to escape. I could tell he was about to reach a breaking point, and we needed to get out of there now. We retreated into the forest, which eventually led us to a nearby creek. The water flowed beneath our toes calmly, relaxing our bare feet beneath the rocks. Matt was across from me, distressed. With a beer in our hands, we talked about what was going through our heads, and why we were standing there in the middle of the creek. "You okay?" I asked him. He told me about how all the stimuli back there was just too much for him. Seeing people running and talking around us, coupled with the anxiety emitting off the music thrown in his face all at once, it was a slippery slope, one that I was determined to steer him away from. I reminded him why we were here. This was supposed to be a fun weekend, a time of letting loose, a break from the mundane atmosphere of work and the stresses of the world. We came to feel alive. We came to be humans. "Be human with me," I yelled at him. Matt puts his hand to his forehead in thought, and slowly starts to nod his head in agreement. "You know what?" he says. "I will be human with you." Right there in the middle of the creek, with water running between our toes and the birds around us singing, the day suddenly got better. Everything started to come back together, and the mood of the day was finally what it should have been all along. We exited the babbling creek and hiked back up to the festival to join the hippies once more. It was finally time for us to enjoy ourselves, sprawl across the hill and listen to good music, dance, jump, and bounce around without a care. It was finally time to forget about the troubles of the world, the markers of civilization that bring us to become overloaded with stimuli. It was finally time to allow our spirit to run wild, so we could be human once more.